I'm your MC for the evening. We'll be starting out by showcasing the current incarnation of the Vesna dancers in a floor show that will start momentarily. After the show, you'll be enjoying a delicious buffet dinner, including Ukrainian favorites, followed by a Zabava dance with DJ J. And you'll definitely need your dancing boots for that. But before we start the festivities, I'd like to call on Father Theo Mashinsky to give a special blessing for the event. Father Theo?
Thank you, Paulette. A little bit taller. Anniversary is always a great time to get together to learn from the past, plan for the future. More than anything to celebrate now. All those years bring us this moment of 30 years. My blessing upon you, board of directors, instructors. The Holy Spirit be with you. Inspire you with creativity when you dance routines. Upon students, dancers. Health, no accidents. Strength, determination, and encouragement to continue on with the wonderful job you do, showcase our Ukrainian culture and heritage, and to keep it alive. For all of us here, the celebration of our traditions, but also the wonder of music and dance, like Ukrainians are so popular for. And anticipation of our meal, a blessing upon the meal, that it be for nourishment, strength for our bodies, but also remember those less fortunate in our communities as well. My blessing be upon this event. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Christos Voskres.
Thank you, Father Theo. We're going to be doing things a little bit differently today from a normal dinner dance. We're going to start out with a floor show rather than have it after dinner. And the reason for that is to give the dancers, for a change, an opportunity to enjoy the dinner. Most of you here can relate. Either you are a dancer yourself or a parent, and so you know what it's like to rush through a meal on a nervous stomach. So today we're starting the show so that the dancers can relax over dinner and give their digestive systems a break. The floor show will be taking place here. This is the front of the stage. So if you're seated in the corners here, you may have trouble seeing. You may want to make your way up, stand by the bar there so that you can see the show from the front. Also keep an eye out for the little dancers leading in and out of the tables, as well. There's this door there that one of the dances will be coming through, so just keep an eye out for them. And also, just to note that we will have a professional photographer and videographer, and they'll be running around taking pictures and videos, so please give them leeway, let them do that. You are okay to take pictures if you have your own camera, but just please turn off the flash. The Vesna Ukrainian dancers of the Nile will be performing 5 dances for you tonight in sets of 2, 2, and a grand finale. In between sets, we'll be acknowledging some very special people who are responsible for all of us being here together to celebrate. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. The first dance will be performed by the Intermediate Girls. It's a regional dance from the Volyn region, which is located in northwestern Ukraine. Please welcome Vesna's Intermediate Girls and Volyn.
Малина, малина, чого ж ти не цвітеш? Чого ж ти коза?
basket is the name of our next dance. Some girls will be going out to collect eggs and try to teach the younger ones how to do it. But they get an unexpected helping hand. Let's see who it is. The Vesna30Y dancers will be back. The Vesna30Y dancers of the Nanaimo were formed in 1984 by Leona Osowetsky, who is also a founding member of Victoria's Veselka Dancers. 2 years later, the Ukrainian-Canadian Cultural Society of Nanaimo was incorporated. And since many of its members were also involved in Vesna, the two groups joined forces. Over the next 30 years, the Vesna30Y dancers became ambassadors of their rich heritage, while at the same time welcoming new members from many different cultural backgrounds, reflecting the diversity and generosity inherent in the Ukrainian spirit. As a result, Vesna has become the most recognized aspect of Ukrainian culture in this community. So how did it get from there to here? Well, they say that one person really can make a difference in the world. And it would be fair to say that Leona Osowetsky is one such person. Leona, of course, is no stranger to anyone who's ever been involved with the Vesna30Y dancers, or Nanaimo's Ukrainian community for that matter. Being the founder of Vesna and the Cultural Society and an active member of St. Michael's Ukrainian Catholic Parish, she's pretty much the bedrock of our community. So if you don't know who Leona is, you can bet your dancing boots she knows who you are. Like so many of her generation, Leona grew up totally immersed in Ukrainian culture. She's fluent in the language because growing up in Swan Plains, Saskatchewan, Ukrainian was the lingua franca. She and her classmates were the original ESL students. She also learned embroidery, cooking, baking ritual breads, making pisanka, singing traditional folk songs, all of the traditions. But a quiet, peaceful life on the farm was not in the cards for someone as adventurous as Leona. As soon as she could, she headed for the big city lights of Winnipeg, Then she decided to switch direction and eventually settled in Victoria in the 1960s. After arriving in Victoria, in no time Leona was involved with St. Nicholas the Wonder Worker Ukrainian Catholic Church. By 1971, Victoria had a Ukrainian dance group called Veselka, which is still going strong. 4 years later, Leona moved to Nanaimo, where her life followed the same pattern. Join church, meet people, form a Ukrainian dance group. As in Victoria, Leona gravitated to people who shared her love of Ukrainian culture. By 1984, she had corralled the communities of Campbell River, Courtney, Port Alberni, Victoria, and Nanaimo, and formed the Island Social, which for the next 26 years brought together island communities to celebrate their Ukrainian heritage. Although she formed 2 dance troupes like the rest of us here today, Leona also had another life, involving a demanding physical activity that was a little bit different from dance: water sports, particularly swimming and water skiing. In 1976, a year after arriving in Nanaimo, she founded the Nanaimo Riptide Swim Club. She worked as a swim coach, lifeguard, and pool operator, and the highlight of her athletic career is being picked as a coach to take some Riptide swimmers to the BC Summer Games in Penticton. And on the side, she sold some real estate for a few years. But Ukrainian dance was always a big part of her life. Her 3 children danced in Victoria, and so of course she wanted to continue in Nanaimo. No dance group? No problem, just start one. But she was not a choreographer, so she put her networking skills to use. She soon found a college student by the name of Derry Kolonsky, who became Vesna's first instructor. The following year, Karina Burns and Dawn Wilburn helped her out. As well, that year, Leona's daughter Kim and Andriy Nahachevsky supplied materials, instructions, and moral support. Then she approached Jean Rudy, who agreed to come on as an instructor, and the rest is history. Jeannie shared Leona's vision of what Vesna could be as a dance troupe and as a community, with dancers, fellow instructors, and the community at large. Mother Teresa said, "I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples." Likewise, Leona is not one to overestimate her own talents and skills. Once she's chosen someone to hand the baton to, she steps back and lets them have at it. Not too far back, though, just enough to see that things are done properly and well. As we have seen over the last 30 years, that they do. When it comes to finding good people, Leona obviously chooses well. There's so much more I can say about Leona, as can those who have known her much longer. However, she insisted that I keep the speech short, so under duress I agreed. Leona is not one to toot her own horn or brag about her accomplishments, significant and many as they are. She would much rather create ripples and let the spotlight shine on somebody else. That being said, we are going to shine a spotlight on Leona Osowetsky for a wee minute today, just long enough to say Dyakuyu and Molodets. But first I'd like to call on Jana Logan, one of the original Vesna dancers, to say a few words about Leona.
Hello. Yes, I'm one of the original dancers, and I'm feeling a little bit like an antique. I'm going to share a little story from a dancer's perspective. So when I was a little girl, I used to spin incessantly. I would spin until I'd fall over dizzy, and after about 3 collisions with the coffee table, my parents decided to try to harness that compulsion, and they put me into a dance class. They chose tap dance, and it was great until I had to put on the tap shoes, and I was terrified of them. So during my first tap class, my instructor and I came to a compromise. I would put the tap shoes on as long as I didn't have to move. So we decided to try a different approach, and they signed me up for Highland dance. Attempt number 2, I loved the shoes. The shoes were great. Unfortunately, I was terrified of my dance instructor. She was tall, she was dark-haired and posing, and to my 6-year-old self, she seemed like a giantess. So once again, terrified and unable to move. And it was about 6 months later that our neighbor, Leona Osowetsky, approached my parents and suggested that I take part in a new little dance troupe formed, Vesna30YearsOfMemories. There was only a handful of dancers. It was a small troupe at the time, and she was just getting it off the ground. From the moment I heard the first strains of the happy music, and from the first moment I learned my polka rhythm, I knew that this was my dance. I was in love with it. She knew it would be the perfect fit for me. I was a quiet, happy, whirling little bit of a girl. And I was shy, but I was full of ambition. And I loved the ribbons. Oh my goodness, the ribbons. Any little dancer would understand that. I would see Leona at the hall, and she would bolster my confidence with that bright smile of hers and give me a little hug. And she used to call me her little star. And I don't know, Leona, if you know how much that meant to me, being the shy little girl that I was. But you changed my life in that way. As much as I danced for the love of the music, and for the love of the costume, and the companionship of my fellow dancers, for the joy that I saw in my parents' faces and my grandparents' faces, I also danced for Leona, because I wanted her to be proud of me, her little star. She became not only an integral part of my childhood and building my confidence as an individual, but she became also a teacher to me of my Ukrainian heritage, and she became family. And I would suspect that was the effect that she had on many of you. She's one of our family members. She is our family member. She is a teacher of culture and heritage and a tireless volunteer of countless hours toward the vitality of Ukrainian culture in Nanaimo, and it's easy to see how priceless her contributions have been. I danced with the original group of Vesna Ukrainian dancers until 1991, and then returned to dance as a teen from 1995 until 1999, the year I married my sweetheart Graham, who also danced with us for 4 years. He's 100% Scottish, so his Ukrainian background is completely by osmosis. At my request, Leona gave the toast to the bride at my wedding, and I am honored to return the favor now. So any of you who may have a drink with you, please raise your glass. A toast to Leona Svetsky. We thank you for your vision for Vesna and the Ukrainian Cultural Society in Nanaimo. We thank you for your commitment and your dedication. We thank you for your time, and I thank you for your smile and your encouragement. To Leona Svetsky. I have a little gift to present to you. I'll bring it over to you.
Leona said no speeches, so we won't make her come up, but one more round of applause for Leona. Started it all. We're going to bring you some more dancing in a minute, and our next set starts out with a pierogi dance. And this is probably one of the most adorable dances I've ever seen, and if you haven't seen it yet, I'm sure you'll agree. The storyline is a young girl is given the overwhelming task of making all the pierogies for her family. Overwhelming. But she gets help from an unexpected source. Ukrainian dances are like Ukrainian songs. They all tell a story. Like all pros, they make it look easy, but lots of work goes on behind the scenes. It's a talent and a skill to convey this storyline while making sure to remember all the steps and keep in time with the music. And of course, there are always the props as well. Our next dance is Garden, and it also relates to the name of the dance group. Vesna means spring, and what do you do in the spring but garden? So our next dance, Garden, is 3 young gardeners who are trying their hand at planting. Let's see what happens. I'd like to call now on the dance instructor that's been the backbone for almost as long as Leona has, Jean Rudy.
Good evening, everyone. It's hard to believe it's 10 years since I was giving a speech at our 20th anniversary. It's nice to see you all here. I first met Leona Oswetsky from my sister, Pam, who was in Victoria going to UVic, and she joined Wasalka back in '71. Leona and I connected many years later in Nanaimo, and she just casually mentioned one day that, oh, started another dance group in Nanaimo, maybe you could just come by and help out. Well, that was in 1987, and I'm still helping out. Ukrainian dance, since I danced in Toronto years ago with my sister, had changed dramatically by the time I became an instructor, so I really had to pull out my socks and do a bit of research and get ahead of the game if I wanted to be a teacher. I sure could have used YouTube and internet back then. But I had to try to step ahead, keep one step ahead of the dancers, and quite often I'd be at a workshop and learning right along with them. But I've taught some phenomenal dancers over the years, and it's been interesting watching them start as little kids at 4 or 5 and grow up, become wonderful dancers and even nicer people. And now some of them have kids and they're thinking about getting them involved in Ukrainian dance as well, so the tradition will continue. I've always found that if you believe in your students and set the bar high and have high expectations, they always meet them and they often exceed them. Some of the productions and storylines we've done over the years took a lot of work with props, choreography, acting, costuming. It took a lot of effort to pull it all together for a show, but the dancers were more than willing to put their own character into a role and add suggestions and work really hard to make it come together for often one performance. My favorite example of dancers going above and beyond is back in about 96, and we did a comedy dance called The Reunion. It was about a group of dancers, Durne dancers, foolish, crazy dancers for anybody who doesn't know Ukrainian. And they were having an anniversary after 50 years. So we all had to look old, we had wigs and gray hair. Well, 2 of the younger guys, we had got some baby powder or something to put in their hair and make them look older. Well, unbeknownst to any of us, they took it a little bit further. They came out and performed, they'd actually shaved bald spots on the top of their heads. I don't think their parents were too impressed, but it really was not part of the script, it was not my idea. And it hasn't been just the dancers that have worked really hard. The parents have been phenomenal over the years. There's so many things involved with being MC, running the music, hair, makeup, costuming, embroidery, taking your kids back and forth to performances and raffles and bazaars and literally making tons of pierogies and cabbage rolls over the years. And they did absolutely anything that was asked of them just to support the group. I think the main reason that the families were so committed, and one of the main reasons that the group has survived this long, is because Vesna goes beyond just the dancing. Through the affiliation with the Ukrainian Cultural Society, they've also had a chance to learn how to make Ukrainian food, embroider, be part of singing groups, musical groups, learn how to make Easter eggs, do all kinds of festivals and performances all over the island that the kids look forward to year after year, and a lot of family-oriented stuff that everybody got involved in. I think that's why we've been so successful. Some of the partners in this island Ukrainian family were the Veselka dancers from Victoria and the Delena dancers from Courtney. Yay! They're having participation with them in events like the Island Socials and concerts, Courtney Malanka, which is a fabulous event year after year, and in Victoria, Heritage Days. It's something that the dancers came back to class and looked forward to year after year. 2 of the directors, Carrie and Jeanette, are here from Delena, so thank you for being part of the Vesna family. There's a couple of other organizations that play very important roles in the success of Vesna, but most people aren't even aware of them or don't really think about it. And one organization is Nanaimo's Ukrainian Catholic Church, St. Michael's Parish. From the very beginning, we've used the hall for classes, meetings, social activities, food, storage even, all kinds of things. And they've always been there helping, supporting. We've been a bit of a nuisance maybe sometimes, taking over the place. But Father Theo, all the parishioners, thank you very much. There's another small but extremely hard-working group that rarely gets the recognition they deserve, but it's fundamental to the survival and success of Vesna, and that is the Ukrainian Cultural Society. They take care of what I call the business end of the dance group, organizing fundraising, social activities, applying for gaming funds and grants, taking care of boring things like storage facilities, insurance, food safe. Everything that the dancers need to function, costumes, instructors, the Cultural Society has been there to provide the framework for them to succeed and be what we are today. So for all of the past and present members of the Society, some who have been regularly attending and volunteering from day one, thank you. Over the years, there's been several young dancers that have grown up and started getting involved in teaching, and I was hoping they'd sort of take over some responsibilities and instructing, but they always seemed to move away, had other plans, went for schooling or got married, had children, went other directions. So beginning to wonder about the future of Vesna. Like, I need some help, and I can't be here forever, what am I going to do? So I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if somebody came here maybe from Alberta that had a lot of dance experience, and I wished about this it took a while, but my wishes were granted. First, with the arrival of Dean Andrzejczyk, he's the current instructor for the little ones. He started as a youngster and went through the ranks of instructor, choreographer for some very impressive productions in Calgary, and has probably about 36 years of dance experience that he brings to Nanaimo Vesna. And he also has 2 little girls that are now dancing. I wish we're granted the second time with Leanne Paholik's move to Nanaimo. She's our current director, and she grew up in a farming area near Athabasca, and like most kids with Ukrainian background, every Saturday went to dance school and stayed with Ukrainian dancing from grade school to graduation. Then after going to college for 2 years in Edmonton, she joined an adult dance group there called Veselka, and she was with them for 20 years. So not only does she bring a vast dance background experience with her, the woman also has phenomenal promotional and organizational skills. That woman is so efficient, it's scary. So tonight we're here to celebrate our history, and with 2 such creative and dedicated people to carry forward, let's not look forward to a great future. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. Well, we've got one final dance for you. It will be the anniversary dance. The full ensemble of Vesna will now perform its regional suite, which includes steps from the Volyn, Bukovina, Poltava, and Hutsul regions of Ukraine. that ends our performance for tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's give them another wonderful round of applause. Just a few more minutes. I would like to call now on Leanne Paholic, Artistic Director of Vesna, to say a few closing words.
I'm going to try to leave the mic in there because I know I'm going to shake and it just won't look pretty. Anyways, I didn't tell Jean this earlier, but the Selfie did do a presents tonight for us. They sent us this lovely little bouquet of flowers, so they came earlier this afternoon. So they're here as well as spirits. So anyways, on with my lovely little speecher. My name is Leanne Paholic. I'm currently one of the choreographers and artistic director of Vesna. So a quick little story about how I got that little title. Anyways, so when I came here from Alberta, like Jean said, I went to one of the concerts and I started talking to Jean after the fact. I said, well, I'd probably come and, help out a little, do a little, teach your kids a couple steps, help them point their toes, this and that, this and that. Next thing you know, I'm choreographing. Next thing you know, I see on a program we went to Courtney one year that I'm artistic director. And when the heck did that happen? So I asked Jean after the concert, why am I listed as artistic director? Well, we had to call you something. So doesn't that sound like Jean to people who you know? Anyways, so according to this program, I'm supposed to make some kind of little closing remarks. Well, unbeknownst to our fearless leader, Jean, I actually have one more presentation to make, and that's to her. So we're trying to get through this. I've had a few drinks, so it may be a little iffy here. So anyway, figured I'd just tell you that off the bat. It might be so important. So in my short time here, Jean has been the go-to person for almost every event that has happened around here. And as time goes on, I've learned many more things. So let me do a quick recap of the past 29 years. Yes, I said 29 years. That Jean has been associated with the Vesna dancers. I'm sure there'll be many things that I have missed, but I only have so much time to talk. It all started back in 1987 when Jean obtained the position of dance instructor with Vesna. She did absolutely everything that needed to be done to run a successful group. She did the choreography, found the music, made costumes, booked the shows and dance events, coordinated the dance workshops, promoted the group, and of course assisted in the fundraising that we all have to do. To this day, Jean pretty much does the same thing. She's a little crazy. So to any of you who have done choreography, you know how many hours it takes down to track down the music, think of new ideas for dances of all ages, makeup choreography, etc., etc. Now times that by 29 years. Makes my head absolutely ache to think of that long. But she did all this for the love of dance and of the Ukrainian culture. Jean spent too many hours to count researching the different regions of Ukraine, like she said before, and tried to ensure that the music and the costume were accurate to every region. Jean also found seamstresses to help make these costumes, and we're still using many of them to this day. Well, maybe not the ones from 29 years ago, but I'm not sure about that either. So Jean also, in the earlier days, changed positions from instructor to sometimes a mentor to many of these students that she had, and I'm sure there are many stories out there that probably some more in the memory book that Jean has also put together just for this anniversary from the alumni. Jean also in the early days of this now made sure that the male dancers had the quality instruction that they needed and found a male instructor from the mainland to come and teach. She even drove to Duke Ferry Point to pick him up, and then after when dance was done, she drove him back there. So that is true dedication to the group and to the love of dance. Besides being an integral part of dancing, part of this now, Jean also is heavily involved with the fundraising part of the group as well. To my understanding, Jean's worked many New Year's Eves at the bingo hall as a representative to our society so that we get money towards our group. Then there's also the working together with the Cultural Society treasurers to come up with budgets. Trust me, that's not fun. Then there are the other various fundraising organization things that she did in many years that have been from company catalog campaigns, body depot drives, which we still are doing today, FYI, to our ever-famous Christmas and Easter bazaars. Jean was always there to help make the pierogies and cabbages when they were made by the group, set up the hall, work the concessions, buy the groceries for all the bazaars. Still to this day, she's the one to set up the kitchen on Friday mornings for the pierogi potato filling baking people. That's a mouthful. And then at 7 a.m. on Saturday mornings, she's the dough maker for the pierogi sessions that we have later that morning. Somehow, I really don't think she sleeps. Also, while she isn't sleeping, Jean also continues to be a big promoter of our Ukrainian culture by getting Vesna to perform at numerous places throughout the years. Just to name a few, Wesley Street Festival, Belanka and Courtney, Santa Ukrainian Dinner, VIX, various retirement community centers around town, the Legions, weddings, anniversaries, May Day Parade, Festival of Trees, the Shevchenko 50th anniversary celebration, and of course you can't forget Canada Day at Port Alberta and they go party on the Throat Lake. Now, there's much more to what Jean has done for this group, and I'm sure almost each and every one of you have a story about Jean, and how she's impacted your life, so I'll cut this trip down memory lane short, because I'm sure some of you are getting hungry from now on. I know I can smell the food, I don't know about you. But I'd like to quote a little sentence about Jean that I came across in a write-up about her. Jean gives of herself freely and unselfishly, way beyond what is expected. To me, that pretty much sums up Jean. So Jean, if you'd like to come up here and accept this little gift on behalf of the Culture Society, and once again, thank you for what you've done to this month.
To make about being an instructor. Many years ago, it was a pretty big class. My kids left the group. They were just smiling, and I was smiling. One of the dance moms said, "You must really like teaching." Well, truth be told, I just really liked dancing, but if I needed somebody to dance with, I had to teach.
Now that this is done, we're going to take some little group photos just of the current group, and then whoever is in the audience that's an alumni or a past instructor, we're going to do a big photograph of that as too with the current members. So we'll do the current members first and the instructors, and then I'd like to call on all the alumni who's out there that's danced with us or instructed with us. And then we'll have dinner. One more.